Here we go. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report live here on Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr., and no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you, the faithful, the Niner gang, the Niner Empire, for making today's show a part of your day. Coming up, loaded rundown as we discuss the latest Niners news, rumors, and analysis right here on the program. And we have a couple of segments that we're very excited to get to here. Niners cut candidates. Who could San Francisco let go in order to free up some cap space? Should the Niners sign Joey Bosa, the brother of Nick Bosa, if he's cut by the Los Angeles Chargers, which seems like a normality at this point because the Chargers, as we're about to discuss, going to be able to free up a lot of money. And we're going to take a look at some free agency buzz across the NFL as well. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat to be a part of the show. Now, earlier today, did do a segment that I thought was very informative, and I laid out specific ways how John Lynch and this Niners front office can free up about $55 million of cap space. How could San Francisco do that going into free agency? Very simple. You restructure the contract for Trent Williams. You do the same for Deebo Samuel. You restructure Arik Armstead's deal. You extend Fred Woerner. Those four things would free up about $55 million for San Francisco going into the free agency period so that they could address offensive line, so that they could address cornerback, linebacker, safety, some of the other needs on this roster. And it's those four moves that would free up that $55 million without the extension of Brandon Aiyuk, which, if you backload some of that money, just kind of like how San Francisco did this past offseason with Nick Bosa, that frees up even more money. So that video is up on the channel. Of course, you're hanging out with us live. If you didn't see that, you can watch it after the live show. Let's get the comment section going. I saw Mike Concho. I saw my Las Vegas brother, Words of Wisdom, in the chat. Who else is here and where are you watching from? Let me know in the chat. We'll start to give you some shout-outs here. Producer Chip on the ones and twos. Yo. Where are you? Clean Bean, I see ya. Saying hello. Stews is in Utah. Ken Dowsland, Tacoma, Washington. Francisco Velasquez said, what's up, Chase? Big Hurt. He's in the building. Jack141 saying, yo. Michael Schofield, Lubbock, Texas. Wet Noodle 187. The man, the myth, the legend. Spokane, Washington. Brian Smith, Tomball, Texas. Paul, Edinburgh, Scotland, as we go over the pond. San Bernardino from Frank Tom Ocean. Harold, Bahamas from Stay Blessed. Wow, you must be blessed there in the Bahamas. Went there once on a cruise. It was absolutely beautiful. Seattle, Washington from Richard. And then Pat Ellsworth is also back. Mint Eastwood, San Diego, or as they say in Anchorman, no, I won't go there. Michael Salinas, California. Andre is in Long Island, New York. Houston, Texas from Charlie. $50 super chat, and I'll say what the Anchorman said about San Diego. Be sure to give me a follow on social media, by the way. Been putting out a lot of short-form content on X, as well as all of my reports, all of my content. At Chase_Senior over there. 11,200 followers, and then my Instagram has been popping. A lot of short-form content on there as well. Really skyrocketing audience on Instagram. 22,100 followers on IG. Give me a follow at Chase_Senior. It's the same handle on both platforms. I made it easy for all of you. Our Super Chat menu for our Tuesday live show. All Super Chats will get a shout-out. $10. This is what we're doing all throughout the month of February. Every $10 super chat that comes in all throughout this month is one submission to win a Niners jersey. And I'm going to make a deal with the people. I'm going to go back. I'm going to look at all the super chats that came in for our Super Bowl watch party, and those submissions will be in the raffle as well. The same can be said for our $50 signing the Niners helmet, and the most $100 super chats that we get all throughout February. That person becomes the 49ers Report February MVP, where we will send you a customized football, just like this one right here, which is going to Gump Wolf from Super Bowl 58. So that right there, our Super Chat menu. Other ways to support the show for free, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, subscribe to the 49ers Report. You can comment and share your thoughts. You can share the video. Most importantly, we want you to be a real one. 160 people here so far getting that notification. More people are going to continue to pile in. If you're ready to talk some Niners, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video right now.
Let's go, real ones.
We have 36 likes. Let's get to 100 likes ASAP. Words of wisdom, Chase. Are you guys going to cover the Spring Football League? I don't think so. I mean, you think about the NFL calendar, right? It's pretty much become a year-round sport. Like the Super Bowl was 2 Sundays ago. We have the NFL Combine next week, free agency basically the second week of February, and then you have the NFL draft at the end of April, and then OTAs, rookie minicamp, and then training camp is here at the end of July. So it's certainly a busy time. I also cover the NBA here at Chat Sports. We're up to 50 likes here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. Please continue to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Cisco says, could you say hi to my son Isaac? Isaac. Niner gang. Who's ready to start the show? I am. Chip is. Hope you are as well. So let's do it. Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr., and as always, no matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you, the faithful, for making today's show a part of your day. On the rundown for today's 49ers Report, Niners cut candidates. 5 players San Francisco could cut to clear up some cap space going into NFL free agency. Before we begin, this is the largest independently run Niners channel right here on YouTube, and this is how we've been able to grow our own Niner empire inside the walls of Chat Sports, because we give you coverage that's entertaining, informative, and insightful. So if you're looking for daily videos on the Niners, which includes Niners news and analysis, breaking news coverage, Niners draft content, 49ers free agency intel, watch parties during the season, couple of live shows per week as well, hit that sub button. Let's get to 132,000 subscribers right here on the show. Niners cut candidate number 1. Not much of a surprise right here, although some of the other players on this list would be surprise cut candidates. Isaiah Oliver. A reason why I think that the Niners are going to cut him, San Francisco can save $2.4 million by cutting him. He's on the books for 2024 with the cap hit of nearly $4 million. There's just no way that a player who really struggled last year in Steve Wilks' defense, as a Steve Wilks guy, is going to play in 2024 under that salary. Now, you would have to take on a dead cap number of about $1.5 million, but he's a Steve Wilks guy. Steve Wilks is no longer here, and he really struggled. And I know that oftentimes here on the show, we point to the Pro Football Focus grades because PFF watches every single snap of every single game, but sometimes the numbers don't tell the full story. Like Isaiah Oliver's Pro Football Focus grades. I don't know how he has a coverage grade of 70.9 in 2023 when we saw the lapses in coverage, him getting beat, and how before he got benched going into the bye, he was one of the worst corners in the entire NFL. Overall grade in 2023 of 67.6. Run defense grade of 59.8. I actually thought he played decent against the run, making some plays behind the line of scrimmage. Talk about the coverage numbers, but this is really the full story. A passer rating allowed of 104.2, and that came on 339 coverage snaps. If this is it for Isaiah Oliver's career in the Bay, we're going to remember him as a player who stunk in coverage. And coming out of the bye week, Kyle Shanahan, Steve Wilks benched him so that Deommodore Lenoir could move from outside corner to the slot, Ambry Thomas to the outside, and after that, we saw this Niners defense play much better. Cut candidate number 2, this would come as a surprise because he's turned into a Niners legend since coming to the Bay. That's fullback Kyle Juszczyk, entering year 4 of what was a 5-year contract extension that he signed a few years ago. And he's entering year 4 of that $27 million extension, which at the time made him the highest paid fullback in the history of the NFL. He carries a cap hit of $7.58 million. And if the Niners were to cut Juszczyk, otherwise known as Juice, that would free up about $5 million in NFL free agency. There's just no way, considering all of the other needs on this Niners roster and how little production Kyle Juszczyk gives you, because he is important to what the Niners do, but doesn't give you a lot of production, how he can play and carry a cap hit of $7.58 million at that position of fullback. A contract restructure makes the most sense here. So I think that Juice is going to be back in 2024. His wife is going to continue to be able to make jackets for other players on this Niners team after she also landed that partnership with the NFL. Juszczyk is close with Kyle Shanahan. They're buddy-buddy. And Juszczyk is a Kyle Shanahan guy. He plays an important role. Lead blocker. Every time he is targeted, which is not often because of all the other weapons on this team, he comes through in the clutch, makes big plays. When he gets a handoff or catches a pass, it seems as though it's a momentum-changing play, brings leadership to the table, pre-snap motion, helps the disguise with this Niners offense. All these things are important, but a $7.5 million cap hit for a fullback is roster-building malpractice. And it's insanity when the Niners have to get better in other areas. And when you could lower that to, let's say, $3-4 million and then use that other money elsewhere to help improve your football club. So what should the Niners do with Kyle Juszczyk? This will be the pinned comment. And this is today's poll question here. R for restructure, C for cut. Join the conversation down below in the comment section and let us know how you feel about that particular move. 3 more cut candidates to get to, but first, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America, and they have the best deal that any DFS app has to offer. What is it, Chase? Yeah, I got you. A $100 deposit match, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Prize Picks makes daily fantasy sports easy, and coming out of the All-Star break for the NBA All-Star Weekend outside of the three-point contest was a disaster. We have some great picks that we absolutely love here for the remainder of the NBA season, like this one. Nikola Jokic, more than a half, 30-plus point games. Yeah, we're going more on that. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, more than 2.5 40-plus point games from here on out until the end of the year. And then more than 9.5 double-doubles for LeBron James as the Lakers look to make that playoff push. Daily fantasy sports made easy. Pick 2 or more players. Now that Major League Baseball is about to be back, pitchers and catchers reporting to Florida and Arizona, you can combine sports. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Cut candidate number 3, Colton McKivitz, right tackle. And for the San Francisco 49ers, offensive line continues to be an issue. And for the Niners moving forward, this is an area they must and have to address. The Niners gave McKivitz, knowing that he was going to be a starting right tackle in 2023, a 2-year, $4.5 million contract extension. And the Niners paid for trying to get away and get by with being cheap at the right tackle spot, because McKivitz all year was awful. And we talked about this going into 2023. He is not a starting right tackle for a team that has Super Bowl aspirations. The Niners here would save nearly $2 million if they cut Colton McKivitz. They would have to inherit a dead cap charge of $584,000. A contract restructure here makes some sense as well. But a dead cap charge of $584 million, that's basically monopoly money for a team that's operating at this level in the National Football League. And I've said this time and time again. I've talked about this over the last couple of years. It is time for the San Francisco 49ers to take offensive line more seriously. And until they do, they will not win a Super Bowl. What's happened in 2 deep playoff runs the last 2 years? Philadelphia Eagles, expose them. Kansas City Chiefs, expose them. Right guard, right tackle, they need to be addressed this offseason for the Niners. And if it's not, They're just not going to be able to hoist that 6th Lombardi trophy. And McKivitz in the regular season wasn't good. In the playoffs, guess what? He was even worse. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 63.1. A pass blocking grade of 65.9. A run blocking grade of 56.7. He gave up 12 pressures in 3 playoff games, 205 total snaps. Cut candidate number 4, let's go to Dre Greenlaw here. This is a tricky situation because Greenlaw is coming off that torn Achilles. So there are a couple of things that come into play if the Niners were to move on from their enforcer, which I don't want to see happen because I think Greenlaw's a really special player. Releasing him prior to April 1st, this would come after the heat and the height of free agency, would save the Niners $6.8 million, so nearly $7 million on the books. There is a $2.1 million injury protection clause, which would not hit the Niners cap until after the 2024 season. But Dre Greenlaw here going into this year when he's probably going to miss most of the season is set to earn $8.7 million in salary as well as bonuses. And to have to pay that much money for a player who's really important to your defense, who the Niners really missed once he went out in the Super Bowl because Oren Burks really struggled in coverage, but you're giving him $8.7 million when he's most likely not going to play for all of, if not most of, 2024. There's going to have to be some financial gymnastics that come into play here. The Greenlaw injury makes things shaky. He's a great player, but that's a lot of money if he doesn't play, to summarize things. And his numbers in 2023 were very good. In the playoffs, he was even better than the numbers on your screen right here. 120 tackles, 4 pass breakups, 5 tackles for loss, overall PFF grade of nearly 70, run defense grade of 70.9, a coverage grade of 72.1. And part of the reason why the Niners really struggled after he went out in the Super Bowl, Travis Kelce had 1 catch for 1 yard in the first half. And Dre Greenlaw in the playoffs just continued to play lockdown defense. He had a coverage grade of 89.7 in the postseason. He was flying around in the Super Bowl, hitting guys left and right. Patrick Mahomes even went to the sideline and said, we need to match their level of physicality. Well, once Greenlaw went out of the game and he suffered that torn Achilles in a fluke way, jogging onto the field after a punt, Niners defense just simply wasn't the same. Cut candidate number 5 is Jake Brendel. So you look at this list, and this is why we listed the title, Surprising Cut Candidates. Kyle Juszczyk, starter. Colton McKivitz, starter. Dre Greenlaw, starter. Jake Brendel, starter. Isaiah Oliver to start the year. He was starting for this football team. So these are 5 players who played starting roles for the Niners who could get cut to free up some cash flow. For Brendel, I didn't love this deal at the time when he signed that 4-year, $20 million contract extension during the 2023 offseason. He was coming off a year in which he was a Pro Bowl alternate, but you can get better centers for about $5 million in average annual value. The Niners, if they cut Brendel, would save about $3.5 million, 3.48 to be precise. Dead cap charge in 2024, again, not much, under $1 million at $682,000. Then in 2025, you have to eat a little bit more. It would go up to about $2 million. But if you upgrade in a big way at center, right guard, right tackle, you have Aaron Banks at left guard. You have Trent Williams at left tackle. What was and has been a position and an area of weakness, the offensive line, could then become a strength. And I think that you can get a little bit stronger than Jake Brendel at center. He was a Pro Bowl alternate in 2022. Great for him. But before that, he was an NFL journeyman for a reason. And I think that there are better centers available that you can get in free agency as well as in the draft. And when you have a pass blocking grade of 42.3, and when Chris Jones can kind of just throw you to the side like he did at moments in the Super Bowl to some of the interior offensive linemen for San Francisco, and they can get 11 pressures on Brock Purdy, 9 of them unblocked, that is an issue. Overall grade of 63.9, so that's below league average. Really good with his run blocking skills. 29 pressures given up, though, right through the heart of that Niners offensive line. You have a young quarterback who you're trying to protect. And if the quarterback is dropping back and the pocket is muddied right in his grill, that's not ideal for Brock Purdy. So which player did the Niners need to cut? We talked about 5 right here. You can go elsewhere off of this list if you so please. Let me know by dropping a name down below in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe. Cerebral Assassin, our first super chat here on our Niners show, live Chat Sports. What's up, Chase? Cerebral, what's up, man? I like the 69 jersey right there, which is what I think I'm seeing, right? 69 jersey? Or is it 95 backwards?
I think it's 95 backward. I think it's like flipped, like mirrored almost.
It's mirrored a little bit. Either way, I like that. It's what's Dragon Ball Z type of character from back in the day, right? Shout out to all the Pokemon lovers. Jenny Wolfie, $2. Need Aiyuk. Let's go, Brandon. I agree, Jenny Wolfie. The 49ers need to bring back Brandon Aiyuk. And as I said on my YouTube short a little bit earlier, I think the Niners are going to do everything in their power to bring back Brandon Aiyuk. Homegrown player. They drafted him 25th overall in 2020. They've invested draft capital and time in developing him. They envision him becoming a wide receiver 1. He's turned into that. You have a young quarterback who you want to surround with good weapons. Aiyuk's phenomenal. There's also this report, and we're going to continue to monitor this, ladies and gentlemen. Tim Kawakami, longtime Bay Area sports writer, now writing for The Athletic with this. I hear the 49ers might be closing in on a defensive coordinator. Not sure when there will be an announcement, but could be soon. Now, I quote tweeted that on X. Give me a follow at Chase_Senior. And I said, this is interesting. Steve Wilkes was fired less than a week ago. We have not heard a peep about any Niners interviews. The only interest we've heard about is Brandon Staley, who Kyle Shanahan is tight with. They're said to share the same agent. So it's either Brandon Staley, if this is the case, or somebody internally. And if it's somebody internally, I don't think the Niners are getting the best person for the job. Our Super Chat menu, all Super Chats get a shout out. Just like Cerebral Assassin and Jenny Wolfie, $10. Every $10 Super Chat that comes in the entire month of February, you get entered to win a Niners jersey. I'm so surprised we haven't gotten a lot of $10 Super Chats in our last couple of live shows, especially right now. $10 Super Chat, you win a Niners jersey. The going rate for those are like $150, $200. $50. We have one name on our Niners helmet, and it's Colby. Thanks to Izzy B, who sent that in. $50 you get on this Niners helmet, and whoever sends in the most $100 Super Chats throughout the month of February, you become our 49ers Report MVP, and we will send you a football that's customized like this one, which is going to Gumpwolf. All right, coming up next here, we have about 280 people watching live. For those of you who have not hit that thumbs up icon and like the video, please do so right now. Cerebral Assassin, $10 Super Chat. I'm going to get in that raffle. And we're going to put you in that raffle, Cerebral Assassin. And we'll pick the winner at the end of the month, of course. Thank you for that. $10 Super Chat gets you in.
You're in, baby.
$10 Super Chat gets you in to win a Niners jersey. It's a pretty damn good deal. We're trying to hook up the faithful for being faithful to the 49ers Report. Let's go, said cut Chase Young. He's not under contract. Well, he's not under contract, so he can't be cut. That's how that works. But that's why you watch the show. Mike Concho said yes to Brian Burns. I talked about him on my perfect offseason plan.
That would be scary. Oh, that'd be scary.
Brian Burns and Nick Bosa would be scary. Would Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa be scary? Let's talk about that next. Should the San Francisco 49ers sign Joey Bosa, the brother of Nick Bosa, if he is cut by the Los Angeles Chargers? Which seems as though it could happen. Why? Because Joey Bosa, even though he signed a massive contract a couple of years ago, would save the Chargers $14 million if he's let go. And he carries a cap hit of $36.5 million. And this is a player who's barely played over the last couple of years. A lot of thoughts on this, as well as Khalil Mack. Stay tuned for that. But first, make sure you sign up with Manscaped. 10 million men worldwide have put their trust in Manscaped, as they have the best men's grooming products in the game, and we have a great deal for the Niner Gang. 20% off and free shipping. If you want to bang with the Niner Gang, you got to make sure that you're cleaned up with Manscaped. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com/49ers, code 49ers20. So Joey Bosa has been a big talking point among a lot of Niner fans over the last couple of days. So it's time for us to talk about him here on the 49ers Report, because I've been asked about him by a lot of Niner fans, and he signed a 5-year, $135 million contract a couple of years ago. Very similar situation to his brother Nick Bosa, where he was going toward the tail end of his rookie deal, and the Chargers, as they should have at the time, because the production and availability was there, they paid him a lot of money. And on that 5-year, $135 million deal, that comes out to an average salary per year of about $27 million. Now, Joey Bosa, this is of note here for the purpose of this conversation, has a roster bonus of $7 million, which automatically hits if he's on the team on the 15th of March. And free agency starts just a couple of days before that. And he's looked at as a cut candidate for the Chargers, with Jim Harbaugh coming to town to link up with Justin Herbert to try to maximize Los Angeles' quarterback. It would save $14 million on the cap for the Chargers. And when you think of Joey Bosa and you hear the name Joey Bosa, you think of him as one of the best edge defenders in the entire National Football League. That is true, but there's a massive but as part of this conversation here. He has played in a total of 14 games the last 2 years. He has a long injury history throughout his career. His father, who played in the NFL, was injured a lot, and luckily, knock on wood, Nick Bosa, outside of the torn ACL in year 2, which he believes happened because he was playing on the garbage turf at MetLife, has been able to stay healthy. But inside the family gene pool, there is an injury history within the Bosa family. And the Niners, already skewing toward being older, under Kyle Shanahan up until this year, they were top 10 in injury rate every single season. And Bosa's been in the league for a minute, 8 years. And you look at his games played and the sack numbers that have come along with those games played. Comes into the league in 2016 as a rookie out of Ohio State. A lot of pedigree, just like his brother Nick. 12 games, 10.5 sacks. In 2017, plays the full season. 16 games, 12.5 sacks. 2018, he gets hurt. Only plays and logs 7 games, 5.5 sacks. In 2019, 16 games, 11.5 sacks. In 2020, back down to 12 games, 7.5 sacks. In 2021, full season almost, missed 1 game, 16 games, 10.5 sacks. In 2022, 5 games, 2.5 sacks. And in 2023, 9 games, 6.5 sacks. So for the Chargers, this has been a massive disappointment. They're paying him a bunch of coin, and he's not been able to stay on the field all that often. The consistent theme of Joey Bosa outside of the injuries, when he does play, he has been a disruptive defensive player who consistently gets after the quarterback. But you would just be scared shitless pretty much if you bring him in, pay him a lot of money because of the long and concerning injury history. The Niners' average age on this roster as of right now is 27 years old. That does rank 11th in the NFL. So it's not like the Niners are so old to a point where it's overly concerning, but they do have a lot of older players on this roster, and some of the core players on this team are starting to get a little bit older toward the end of their primes. Just in 2023, Bosa was really banged up this past year. Hamstring injury, toe injury, foot injuries, that caused him to play just 9 games. And when I look at the physique of Joey Bosa, the size of Bosa, how he relies on power to disengage from blockers, to try to bend around tackles, to try to win with power moves, and an array of pass rushing moves. The fact that he has a long history of foot issues, that scares the daylights out of me because they can creep back at any moment. Where it does become intriguing, though, and I love hitting both sides of these types of conversations, if Joey Bosa gets cut by the Chargers, you're not tied to that contract extension that the Chargers signed him to. And you might be able to sign him for cheap if he's willing to take a discount to play alongside his brother Nick. Nick Bosa has already said, in a joking manner, that he believes Joey has already made a lot of money in his NFL life, and they could wreck and take over the National Football League. So the thought of that from their perspective is also pretty enticing, as well as the fans' perspective, thinking about what they could do if they both stay healthy. With that, this is today's poll question. I'm fascinated to see what all of the people say. Should the Niners sign Joey Bosa if he's cut by the Chargers? S for sign, I for no, because he's too injury prone. As I mentioned off the top, today's 49ers Report is sponsored by Manscaped. Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, they can get a lot of sacks coming off the edge. If you want to clean up your sack, you got to do it with Manscaped. Stop going the cheap route with all of these cheap blades and razors out there. With Manscaped, you don't have to worry about that. 20% off, free shipping, manscaped.com/49ers. But then make sure you plug in that code 49ers20 for that deal to apply. I use all of the Manscaped products. I trim my nose hairs with the nose hair trimmer. I shave up below the waist with the lawnmower. I use some of their shower products, the crop preserver, the ball deodorant. They are all phenomenal. I love wearing the Manscaped boxer briefs. And with the performance package, everything comes in the travel case. I do a lot of traveling. Went to the national championship in January, Super Bowl in February, hoping to go to the NFL Combine next week. I use the travel bag all the time. So if you get the performance package, you can put everything in that as well. You don't want to miss out on this deal. Manscaped.com/49ers. Use the code 49ers20. Therefore, Manscaped knows that Chat Sports sent you, and you'll be looking great in pristine condition for your significant other, or if you just like looking at yourself in the mirror. The pluses of signing Joey Bosa if he's let go. An elite edge rusher when healthy. Joey and Nick, that tandem would be tantalizing for opposing offenses. When Joey Bosa is healthy, I think that he's a better player than Chase Young. You'd pay a fraction of his current salary most likely, especially if he's willing to take a bare minimum deal to play with his brother, which would be a unique opportunity considering he's made a lot of money in his NFL life. And whoever the new defensive coordinator is, you could get creative with the brothers on the twists, the stunts, the gains, and just finding ways, drawing up ways to try to be able to rush the opposing quarterback and get to a guy like Patrick Mahomes, where if you do, you might have a chance of completing that quest for 6. The negatives of signing Bosa. This goes without saying, right? But the injury concerns are a huge risk. And you'd be signing him on a what-if basis. What if he stays healthy? What if he stays on the field? You never want to date somebody where you're always saying, well, what if it could work out? No, oftentimes it doesn't work out. And the same can be said for signing a football player. What if it works out? What if he stays healthy? History shows he hasn't been able to do that even though he's not 30 years old yet. And if you do sign Joey Bosa, you might lose out on signing another player like a Chase Young, like a Brian Burns, like another marquee free agent if the Niners clear up some cap space. What's also interesting here is that the Chargers, I wonder under Jim Harbaugh if we're going to see a makeover take place and a new roster take the field in 2024. Because if the Chargers cut or trade any of these players here are the cap savings. With Khalil Mack, $23.2 million. Keenan Allen, $23.1. Mike Williams, $20 million. And then Joey Bosa, $14.38. If we're talking about 2 edge rushers and 1 to sign, I'm signing Khalil Mack. I'm not signing Joey Bosa. I don't care what Nick would say to me as far as what we should do with our roster. I'm going after the better player, and the more available player, and that's Khalil Mack if we're talking about a Charger edge rusher to ink to a new deal. Khalil Mack, even though he's in his late 30s, had a great year in 2023. 17 games played, 17 sacks, 22 quarterback hits, 36 pressures, 21 tackles for loss. In 2022, a little bit of a down year, 8 sacks. 2021 only played 7 games, 6 sacks. And in 2020, 16 games played, 9 sacks. Again, you're not going to be tied to that contract. You can sign these players to a new deal, but if we're talking about 2 Chargers edge rushers, yeah, I'm going Mack over Bosa. But what are you doing? Bosa, Mack, Bosa the younger player, but the more injured player. JB for him, KM for Khalil Mack. Sound off with what you think down below. Couple more $10 super chats coming in, entering these people into the jersey raffle for the month of February. Mike Huncho, Bang Bang Niner Gang, still salty, not going to lie. LFG, raffle me, still salty too. I talked with my dad on the phone last night. First time I talked to him since before I went to Las Vegas. First thing he said to me, literally, we FaceTimed him because my grandma was in a nursing facility. She's back home now, feeling a little bit better after she dealt with some health issues. He was like, man, what a loss for the Niners. And I'm like, Dad, I know. 2.1 million people watch me be in shambles after they lost that football game. Big Bo with the $2 super chat. Doesn't the cap space from last year carry over? There is a way for that to happen, but right now the Niners have just under $600,000 in cap room right now, which is 21st in the NFL. Mac Daddy, $10 super chat. We're going to raffle him as well. This team is terrible at making trades other than Christian McCaffrey. Do not trade BA under any circumstances. Never trade a sure thing. Just saying the Carolina Panthers did it. You see where it got them. Yeah, you never trade a homegrown stud who has developed into a really good player for you, who you've invested a lot of time in developing. Just doesn't make a lot of sense. I do disagree, though, that the Niners are not good at making trades. Charles Omenihu, good pickup. Arden Key, was that a trade? Charles Omenihu was, and he was an impact player. Jordan Willis ended up being a really solid player. Jimmy Garoppolo was a big trade for San Francisco. He put the Niners back on the map. So I think that they've operated well with some of these trades. Now, DeForest Buckner, awful trade. And you bring in a player like D Ford who gave you not even a season of production. So I see what you're saying, Mac Daddy. We're going to continue to monitor this report from Tim Kawakami of The Athletic. He is hearing that the Niners might be closing in on a defensive coordinator. Not sure when there will be an announcement, Kawakami adds, but it could be soon. What's interesting about this, we have not heard a peep about anybody interviewing for this Niners gig. So that tells me 2 things. One, it's either going to be an internal candidate, which I wouldn't love, because I'm not sure you're getting the best candidate, a la Bill Belichick. And number 2, it could be Brandon Staley, because that's the only name we've really heard so far, and him and Kyle Shanahan have a relationship. We'll see what happens. We've been on the Brandon Staley front. We talked about some of the internal candidates last week. Johnny Holland, linebackers coach, Daniel Bullocks, defensive backs coach, Nick Sorensen, defensive pass game coordinator, and Chris Kocurek. We'll see what the Niners do. Calvin's Hobbies, $5 super chat. Resign Azeez Al-Shire as Dre Greenlaw is down. Thanks for the excellent content. Thank you for being an excellent supporter of the show there, Calvin. And Azeez Al-Shire would be a terrific move for San Francisco, but he played so well with Tennessee last year, he might be out of the price range for the Niners. Now, familiarity with the scheme, familiarity with this organization. He was actually with the Niners on the sideline during this playoff run, celebrating with them before the game and the linebacking crew, so still close with a lot of the guys on this roster. I would love it, because I think he's a dog still in his mid-20s. Coming up next, we want to hear from you. Use the hashtag 49ers or send in a super chat. We're going to talk about how the Niners could trade for Patrick Surtain. And then on the other side of that, we're going to take your questions. We'll plug our super chat menu one more time. You've seen a lot of $10 super chats come in. Why is that? That's because whoever sends in $10 super chats all throughout this month, you enter the raffle to win a Niners jersey. And every $10 super chat is one raffle ticket to win a Niners jersey. We want to hook up one of our faithful supporters here on the show. All super chats, of course, get a shout out. $50 super chat. You sign our Niners helmet. We only have one person so far from our weekly live shows. That is Colby by way of Izzy B. And whoever sends in the most $100 super chats this month, we're going to get you a customized football like this one right here. We'll sign it. We'll send it to you. Hashtag Niners, send in a super chat to be a part of the show.
Get them questions in. Best ones get on the show. If you super chat, you're guaranteed you get on there. Like Mac Daddy, Calvin, some good questions. Big Bo, but the cap space. Got a few good questions in here. So if you want to guarantee, we can't get them all in. Can't get them all in.
Bang, bang, Niner gang.
But use that hashtag. Use that hashtag right now. A few people already have. Some good
Timon the
stuff.
Buckeyes. Speaking of real ones, what's up, Timon?
What
A
up?
Chat Sports OG and legend right there.
True legend.
Leslie Martin said we should have kept Azeez Al-Shire. I think they looked at that as, hey, we have Fred Woerner, we have Dre Greenlaw, spectacular players, and then they drafted D. Winters and Jalen Graham late in the draft, who are speedy backers who I think have a lot of potential. But now with Greenlaw going out with that torn Achilles, maybe out all of 2024,
Love to have him.
Azeez Al-Shire makes a lot of sense. Bowtie Chaplain, you put a space in between the hashtag and 49ers. So if you combine that, man, would love to get that on the show because I know you've been a real one for a really long time. All right, we ready to get into this last segment?
Yeah, I think we are. Keep getting those in. If you want yours in there.
Let's do it. All right. Yep, segment number 3 coming up right now. So how do you feel about this potential trade here to my right, where the San Francisco 49ers would receive former All-Pro cornerback Patrick Surtain, who received those honors in year 2 after being a first-round pick by Denver out of Alabama, and the Broncos would receive the Niners' first-round pick in this year's draft at 31st overall, a second-round pick, 63rd overall in this draft, and then a third-round pick, 94th overall. How are you feeling about this trade? Now, why are we talking about Patrick Surtain to the Bay? You think about some of the great Niners teams that have won Super Bowls in the past. A lot of them have had top-flight corners and top-flight cornerback duos. The Niners right now have Charvarius Mooney-Ward. He's going into the final year of his contract, which has ended up being a bargain for San Francisco. Anytime you can get a second-team All-Pro who's making just north of $14 million, that's a win for your organization. The Niners were right in projecting that he would turn into and develop into a really good player. But Bleacher Report suggesting that the Niners could make this move in trading for Patrick Surtain in a list of moves across the NFL that could keep the Kansas City Chiefs away from three-peating. Why would the Niners do it? Well, first of all, Patrick Surtain is a really good young cornerback. He's bordering on elite. He's already made it to 2 Pro Bowls, and he was an All-Pro in his second year in the league. So if you want to say he's elite, you could say that he's elite. What it does give you, an elite cornerback 1 and cornerback 2 tandem. There are few teams across the NFL that would be able to say, we have a player to the likes of Charvarius Mooney-Ward on one side and Patrick Surtain on the other side. It would become very difficult to throw the ball against this Niners defense, especially under this new defensive coordinator, if the Niners can generate more of a pass rush than they did under Steve Wilks. And Ambry Thomas, I think the Niners have lost trust in him. They lost trust in him last year by not playing him at all. And then here in 2023, he wasn't getting any snaps early in the season. And then he struggled in the playoffs after having an overall Pro Football Focus grade of over 70. And he got 1 snap in the Super Bowl, which I didn't like for San Francisco because we saw more from Logan Ryan than we did from Ambry Thomas. And it's not a slight on Logan Ryan, but there's a reason why no teams came calling until the halfway point of the year and why he went unsigned for so long. What this also does is it keeps Deommodore Lenoir in the slot, who I think is going to be a marquee member of this Niners defense moving forward. He's played excellent football since getting drafted out of Oregon in the latter rounds. And for Charvarius Mooney-Ward, maybe this year you have Ward and Surtain to go all in on a Super Bowl. But if he becomes too expensive and he plays so well once again where you can't afford him, he's in the final year of his deal, you let an older corner walk at that time, you still have Patrick Surtain, you could move Deommodore Lenoir to the outside if you want to re-sign him, or you could find another corner on the outside who's a little bit cheaper. This gives you a lot of options here. If you trade for Surtain, the only thing that you're losing, a pick in the first, second, and third round. There is a history, too, of the Niners having interest in the player. According to ESPN's Adam Schefter, going into the deadline this year in 2023, the Niners tried to trade for Patrick Surtain. He's made it to those 2 Pro Bowls, all-pro player, so some really good accolades in his first 3 years in the National Football League. In each of his 3 years, he's never given up a completion percentage of over 60%. And in 50 total games, he has 36 pass breakups to go along with 7 interceptions. A long, rangy, speedy lockdown corner who always is matched up against some of the top-flight wide receivers in the NFL. Now, going back to Charvarius Mooney, Ward, what is the future of him? Coming off a year in which he was a second-team All-Pro, 84.7 Pro Football Focus grade. That was 5th among all corners in 2023. So if he's looking for a new contract, he could take that to the negotiating table. I'm a top 5 corner. I want top 5 cornerback money. Might be too rich for this Niners front office. The Chiefs barely went his way in the Super Bowl. He allowed 0 yards on 55 coverage snaps. He was targeted just once. And I like Ward as a player. And I would keep him for 2024. He threatens to hold out, that's fine. See if he actually holds out. But when the season comes around, Ward, Surtain, your outside corners, Niners defense could be wreaking havoc. And that's a way that you can beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You get that pass rush, you lock down on the outside, you become very difficult to throw against. That's a good formula for success in trying to get that 6th Lombardi trophy. So how do you feel about this trade? If you didn't answer this already, do so right now. Would you make it? T for trade, P for pass. Niners receive Surtain. Broncos receive a 1st, 2nd, 3rd round pick. The exact compensation right on the screen right here. Now, today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, and stay tuned. We're going to take your questions right around the corner. Daily Fantasy Sports made easy, and this is the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on the projected stats, and if you put $100 into your account, you automatically get $100 back by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use the code CLNS. Coming out of the NBA All-Star break, these are the picks that we really like for the back half of the year, and I'd be shocked if this doesn't hit. Nikola Jokic, more than a half 30-plus point game for the rest of the year. That's the Prize Pick special right now. Hop on that because he's going to drop at least 30 points once. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, more than 2.5 40-plus point games. He's popped off for a lot of those this year. And then LeBron James with the Lakers in that playoff run, more than 9.5 double-doubles, again, from here until the playoffs, the remainder of the regular season. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS, for that $100 deposit match. Now let's start to take your questions right here on the show. Mac Daddy, $10 super chat. This team is terrible making trades other than Christian McCaffrey. Do not trade Brandon Aiyuk under any circumstances. Never trade a sure thing. Just saying the Carolina Panthers did it, and you look at where it got them. Carolina Panthers are one of the worst organizations in the game, and you never want to follow them as a model for success. If you do, it's a model for failure. I agree. You can't trade Brandon Aiyuk under any circumstances. He is worthy of top 10 wide receiver money. Now, I do disagree that the Niners are awful at making trades. Christian McCaffrey has been a fantastic trade. Charles Omenihu was an awesome trade that paid big dividends for a year and a half, and he was a big player in the playoffs in those 2 years. Jordan Willis was a pretty good deal on the margins, who ended up playing a big role for this Niners team. And how about the Jimmy Garoppolo trade? That worked out well. Now, DeForest Buckner, awful trade. Niners decided to keep Eric Armstead over him. That was a mistake. But going back to Aiyuk, this is why I think the Niners are going to do everything in their power to keep him. He was a JUCO product, junior college guy, before he went to Arizona State. Niners saw something special in him when he played with the Sun Devils. That's why they drafted him 25th overall in the 2020 draft. And Kyle Shanahan that night, that was the COVID year, he wasn't at the team facility, he was at the crib. He was pumped about that draft selection. And the Niners saw route running, vertical speed, dynamic playmaking, big wingspan. That allows him to win 50-50 balls. They invested the first-round pick in him, and then they invested a lot into his development, hoping that at some point he would become a wide receiver one. What did he do this year? He became a wide receiver one. Second-team All-Pro, great weapon for Brock Purdy. Now, what's going on right now, I believe, is being used as leverage by Aiyuk and his camp to leverage a hefty contract. The only way I think that Aiyuk is not re-signed by San Francisco is if he asks out. Big Bo, $2 super chat. Doesn't the cap space from last year carry over? Yes, it does. And we'll see what the cap space for all NFL teams is. It was originally slated to be $243 million. Mike Florio reporting it could be closer to $250 million. As of right now, the Niners are under $600,000 in cap space, With these four moves, though, they can clear up about $55 million if they restructure the contract for Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, Eric Armstead, and give Fred Woerner a contract extension. Pretty easy to do, in my opinion. Calvin, $5 super chat. Re-sign Azeez Al-Shire as Dre Greenlaw is down. Thank you for the excellent content. I appreciate that compliment. And I'm going to talk about Azeez Al-Shire a little bit later this week because I kind of want to do more of an in-depth profile on him. But as we talk about him on the fly, I'd like to move. Still in his mid-20s, still a really good player. In a larger role with Tennessee, he was able to show that he can be a legitimate starting backer in this league. He was a little bit overshadowed by Fred Woerner, as well as Dre Greenlaw. And this year in Tennessee, I thought he was flying around. I think he has really good instincts. He has really good speed. Still has a relationship with a lot of players on this Niners team in that linebacking room because during a pregame in the playoffs, he was on the field with the Niners linebacking crew. Overall Pro Football Focus grade this year of 64.7. Run defense grade of 73.7. He'll shoot the gap and he'll diagnose the run. A coverage grade of 61.3, which isn't great, but when you're playing alongside Fred Woerner, your job is going to be made a little bit easier. And the only issue with re-signing Azeez Al-Shire, another team might be able to give him and might pay him a lot more money than what the Niners can afford. John Edwards, $5 super chat. He's become a sneaky super chat legend here over the last month and change. The Niners should go after L'Jarius Sneed in free agency, just like they brought in Dion to win the Super Bowl. And that's why on the show today, we were talking about a Patrick Surtain trade. So you weigh, do you give up a first, second, and third for Patrick Surtain, or do you sign L'Jarius Sneed for, let's say, about in the realm of what you gave Charvarius Ward, which was $14 million for Sneed? It might be a little bit more. Sneed really came on this year. He started his career as a slot corner. He's kind of developed into a lockdown perimeter wideout. Thought he did a really good job against Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk in the Super Bowl, really good instincts. He had 14 pass breakups this year. That's a player who, if the Niners want to invest at corner and they want to pay big-time dollars for a corner, he's the cream of the crop, really, in this free agency class. Geodude, $2 super chat. Bobby Wagner is available. How about a cheaper linebacker who could make a lot of sense? Geodude, I appreciate you bringing him up. At some point, I do have it scheduled to do like an affordable free agent target segment on the Niners report. Bobby Wagner would be a great option. Not as much as Azeez Al-Shire, a little bit older, so he's not going to break the bank, but a player who's still playing really, really well and who Fred Woerner has just applauded as being a fantastic player. As we know, he wreaked havoc against the Niners for so long when he was playing with Seattle and the Rams. Lore, what position should we look at in the draft and free agency? Lore, I'm telling you this right now. You got to lock down right guard, and you got to lock down right tackle. And I don't know if it's going to happen in the draft or free agency. Free agency comes first. So if they don't address right guard and right tackle in free agency, they have to. And I mean, they have to do it in the draft. The fact that We were talking about a team that was weak at offensive line after last year, did not draft an offensive lineman at all in all 7 rounds this past year is criminal. You drafted 2 tight ends and a kicker in the 3rd round, and you didn't pick up an offensive lineman? Not good. And it's cost you your season back-to-back years, partially. AJ VHS, what up, brother? What's up with the Staley hype? Not big on him. What's our in-house hiring candidate? So I get why people have cooled on Brandon Staley. He was a disaster as the head coach of the Chargers, but Brandon Staley was excellent in his lone season as defensive coordinator for the Rams, and he's respected by Sean McVay. He's very well respected by Kyle Shanahan. They're said to be close. And in his lone season as the Rams DC, number 1 scoring defense, number 1 pass defense, number 1 in yards allowed, number 3 run defense. So he is a pretty good defensive coordinator. Some coaches are meant to be coordinators, and I think Brandon Staley fits under that. Now, what I would do, Bill Belichick all day, every day. I'm at least giving him a call, but I'm not sure the Niners are going to go that bold of a route. What New to 187, have you looked at the draft class this year? Who do you like? Yeah, I've looked at the draft a little bit. Going to do a mock draft here soon. There's a couple of offensive linemen who I really liked, and we talked about some of the offensive linemen on the show last week when we were talking about the perfect Niners offseason that I drew up. You can get a really quality right tackle at 31. You can get a really quality right guard at 31. It just kind of depends what position you want to hone in on. The right tackle who's getting a lot of buzz, who could be available at 31, is Adarius Mims out of Georgia. That's a player who I really like. Didn't play a lot with Georgia, but played in some big-time moments and has the athletic pedigree, only 21 years old. How about them Niners? Do you see any second-year players breaking out? I love how the Niner guy in the profile picture is taking a leak on the Cowboys logo. That's just fantastic stuff right there. How about them Cowboys? Second-year players making a leap. So if they don't address linebacker and they don't sign an Azeez Al-Shire or a Bobby Wagner, as we talked about here on the show, D. Winters, Jalen Graham, they could be your breakout candidates in year 2. Look, I know Jake Moody gets a lot of shit for missing the PAT. It was a crucial miss. But how about him knocking down a 55 and 51 yarder in the Super Bowl? It's big-time stuff. So maybe he becomes a little bit more consistent. Elsewhere, I don't see anything from Cam Latu. I don't see anything from Braden Willis. I'm not really high on those players. That's pretty much it. Like, that draft class last year could end up hurting San Francisco. I'll take another look at it right now. But year 2 players breaking out. I'm really excited. I'll say this. I'm really excited about the future safety tandem of Jair Brown-Talanoa Hufanga. I said that a couple of times here on the show, but I can't wait to see what Brown's able to do with the full season under his belt. What can Darrell Luter Jr. do? He's only known for the ball bouncing off his foot in the Super Bowl, so we'll see about that. Can he get anything out of Robert Beal Jr., twitchy edge rusher out of Georgia, who you took in the 5th round? Big Hurt, $5 super chat. Chris Kiffin is the best choice for defensive coordinator. Bring him back home. Chris Kiffin. That's the first time I've really heard his name. Let's see. Chris Kiffin. Previously served as an assistant coach for the Browns. Linebackers coach for the Houston Texans in 2023. Defensive line coach for the Browns 20 to 2022. Pass rush specialist coach for the Niners in 2018-2019. As we know, that 2019 year was really, really special. Haven't heard that name. I don't think that he's worthy of being a DC, but as an assistant, D'Amico Ryans obviously liked him. Make sure you subscribe to the show like Big Hurt is to be a real one and to get your questions answered right here on the show. Thanks to everybody for your continued support. You're all the best. John Edwards, $10 super chat. We'll put him in on the raffle to win a Niners jersey at the end of the month. Do you think the Niners might go after offensive guard Kevin Dotson from the Los Angeles Rams in free agency? That's a name to remember. So too is Robert Hunt, who's like a top 20 free agent in this class. He was the right guard for the Miami Dolphins. Scheme fit, obviously, because of Mike McDaniel. So Kevin Dotson, Rams, Robert Hunt, Dolphins. 2 guards that could be making their way to the Bay Area if the Niners want to spend on the trenches. Stone Cold Fire, $5. Great job, Chase. Thank you, my brother. I know you've been a busy man, but have you sent out the Niner flags from a few weeks ago? Yes. Sent them out last week, my man. Should be going your way and be at your crib any day now. But you never know with shipping nowadays. Like sometimes we've sent some stuff out to our guy like Black Mask and others, and it's taken a long time. But just be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for that flag.
What a show today, huh? What a show today.
Great show. Great show. Last call for Super Chats. We'll show the Super Chat menu one more time.
Get it on that raffle, baby.
Get it on the raffle here. Get in on the raffle. We're going to hop out of here in 2 minutes. So $10 gets you a ticket to win a Niners jersey at the end of the month. It's February 20th. I think it's a leap year, so you get an extra day. $50, you can sign our Niners helmet. We have one person on here so far. It's Kobe, by way of Izzy B. And whoever sends in the most $100 Super Chats throughout the month of February, we're going to send you this 49ers Report customized football. It's like this one. This one's going to Gumpwolf, though. This is from the Super Bowl, as you can see. Niners Report, Super Bowl 58 football. We're going to sign it, send it to our guy Gumpwolf. It's a 2-minute Super Chat shot clock. $10, jersey raffle.
How about this from Tommy Air? I will take any defensive coordinator except Brandon Staley.
Oh, wow. Firmly against Brandon
Staley. The only guy you don't want?
Again, number 1 scoring defense, number 1 pass defense, number 1 in yards allowed, number 3 run defense. Not bad. Niners run defense went from number 1 under D'Amico to 26th under Steve Wilks. EPA per play, number 1 and number 12. That's why he was let go, not the scapegoat reason. Who else is in the chat? How about them Niners? Bakhtiari hasn't played right tackle. He's a career left tackle, and he's barely played at all. So I'm with you. I think he's going to the Jets, and if he can stay healthy, good for him. He's not too old, Leslie Martin. He's just too injured. Stone Cold Fire. I need a new jersey. Go Niners. Hey, let's do this, man. We're $23 away from $100 in Super Chats. That's always the number where when we get to that, we get really excited. I mean, we get really, really excited. 23 away from 100.
Who's going to get us there?
Stone Cold Fire getting in on that jersey raffle. 23 away. We'll continue to stay live. Tommy Air said, I still stand by no on Brandon Staley.
Oh, Calvin!
Calvin! What number on the jersey? Whatever number jersey you want, my man. That's another ticket for you. We're 13 away from 100. Who wants to get on the Niner helmet? I'm surprised more people haven't gotten on this thing, man. Look at this. It's incredible. Brendel, too. $50 gets you on.
And if you got someone special you want to put on, you can put their name on there as well.
How about them Niners? Glenn Schumann from Georgia, great up-and-coming defensive coordinator. I talked about him on our Steve Wilks replacement segment last week. $13 away from 100. We can't sign off until we get there.
Insanity. Do you think the Niners could get a good right guard from a team for Brandon and a good draft pick? I feel like it's hard to trade for linemen.
Yeah, it's hard to trade for linemen. What the Niners would do in that scenario, and I'm glad that you brought that up, if the Niners traded Brandon Aiyuk and they got a first-round pick back, I think they use that first-rounder on a right tackle or on a right guard. And then you probably have to address wide receiver elsewhere in the draft if you haven't already addressed it in free agency. The issue is that free agency comes first, draft comes second. You might miss out on a wide receiver in free agency. So the Niners probably have to make their minds up before free agency. That's really what it comes down to. Combine coming up next week in Indy. So they're going to probably be able to have a look at some wide receivers, and that helps them make that choice if they actually go to the Combine, because they haven't gone the last couple of years. Kyle Shanahan, at least. 13 away. We can't sign off unless we get to 100. I'll drink the rest of my lemon water if we get there. I would go after John Runyon or Robert Hunt. We have to upgrade the right side of the line from Jason Bohanna. Yeah, I talked about Robert Hunt a little bit earlier. Leslie Martin! She is, or he is. We're not sure. Leslie goes both ways. A first time Super Chatter! And Leslie is going to get a ticket for the raffle. Let us know, he or she. Or in 2024, somebody could be they. Am I the only one who thinks Pete Carroll should be considered as defensive coordinator? Yes, I am serious. I've seen a couple of people say that, but here's the thing, Leslie. Pete Carroll was partially let go because he's a defensive mind, and the Seahawks defense the last few years has been awful. So, as a consultant, I'm down. Great coach, future Hall of Famer. Defensive coordinator, no. Leslie. It's he. All right. Awesome. Now we know. First time Super Chatter right there. $3 away from 100.
Come on. So close.
How about them Niners? I saw a Chris Borland jersey in the wild the other day. Once in a lifetime. That is once in a lifetime. Frank Tom Motion. We should draft like 6 offensive linemen. Under Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, they've hit on like 1 offensive lineman. Aaron Banks. You want to tell me that they hit on Colton McKivitz? Nah, that's not a hit. Now, he was a late-round pick who started for you in the Super Bowl but didn't play well. B-side 86, but Pete is still a part of the Seahawks. He's like a front office consultant, which is basically a glorified, we fired you, but we're going to honor you by letting you be a member of the organization.
He's a legend. You can still stick around, but not coaching this team.
If you offered him DC, he would take it in a heartbeat over being a consultant.
Yeah.
I think he's washed.
Yep, just been in the league too long. It happens.
$3 away.
Who's going to be the one? Who's going to be the one to get us there today? We got almost 200 people still hanging out with us here. Do you think we're in need for another wide receiver? Or offensive lineman.
You know, Jauan Jennings is a restricted free agent, so if you let him go, then yeah, you need to fulfill that spot. We'll see what the future is of Brandon Aiyuk. You know, Bucky Brooks has been bringing up a really interesting conversation that Deebo and Aiyuk struggle to win against man-on-man corners because they're not good route runners. Now, a lot of people might say, Brandon Aiyuk, good footwork, great route runner. I think he is, but he does struggle to beat people off the line because he's not used to doing that. So my boy Larry Kruger brings up a point on X just now. Might not be smart to pay $50 million to 2 wide receivers who can't beat press man. Stone Cold Fire! Hell, it's only money. Stone Cold.
Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
All right, we're going to sign off now.
Let's go.
Getting us past 100. Thank you, Stone Cold, for being a legend. We appreciate that. And thanks to everybody who tuned in today. Another great show. I think our off-season content has been awesome. Every video that we've done has really popped in the offseason so far since the Niners lost the Super Bowl. The only video that went under 10,000 views was injury updates on Eric Armstead and Dre Greenlaw, but that was on a day in which we went live, I believe. So, yeah, some great content. Everybody's been reacting to it very well, and we're going to continue to keep it moving right here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. For Chip, I'm Chase. Steven Sierra! A $10 super chat. Go Niners, faithful forever. What up, Chase? Dropping knowledge. Does this get me in for the jersey? Hell yeah, it does, my brother. Every $10 super chat in the month of February gets everybody in for a raffle. So we're trying to hook up a loyal member of the Faithful family right here on the Niners Report. All right, for Chip, I'm Chase. For the Faithful, the Niner Gang, the Niner Empire, we out. San Francisco. Peace.